guys, welcome back to Conversations with Francesca. Today we have a guest. Woo! I have the delectable Tobi in the house. She's very pretty, sure you guys can see. Okay, Tobi is a mom to two wonderful, adorable girls. Today we're just going to be discussing everything that has to do with postpartum, following the birth of a child, how was Tobi's experiences. Of course, one of the reasons I decided to bring Tobi on the show today is because one, Tobi is a repertoire of knowledge. She's very graced, you can see, effortlessly flawless. Tobi's just going to be sharing what happened in between. We're going to be talking about everything that happened, maybe basically from pregnancy, birthing the child, but basically focusing on the postpartum aspect of pregnancy. Okay, Tobi, how was it for you?
First of all, I would like to say thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here, and it's a privilege. I don't take for granted.
I'm glad.
So how was postpartum for me? Postpartum was, I think, the first time. It was interesting, and it was something that was surprising. I didn't know what to really expect. I didn't know what to look forward to. I mean, I read a lot of books, I watched a lot of videos, but it was like a blank slate.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure what to expect. But however, when I had my baby, my first child, it was actually pleasant, surprisingly. I found that it had a lot of challenges, but it was something that once you solve them, you were like excited, like deep within, like, oh wow, I was able to do this.
Okay.
I feel fulfilled.
Okay, I know they say motherhood doesn't come with a manual. So for you read lots of books, tons of books, and you were kind of prepared. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, I would say I was prepared because it was planned. So my husband and I wanted to have a child, and we planned. So we were prepared. The whole 9 months, we were expectant, we were prepared, yes. So.
And was there any time you were kind of like, did you have any of those butterflies? And you tell me when you discovered, oh, I'm pregnant.
Oh, yes. I mean, the first time is always like, you would never experience it again. It's one of those experiences that is once in a lifetime. So we were so excited. I mean, I think I told almost everyone right when I found out. Like the week I found out, my friends, of course not my co-workers, as you know, we're Nigerians, we kind of like to keep things covered. So maybe not on the internet, but like everyone close to me, like within a week, my sisters, my best friend, my friends, my parents, his parents.
Everybody was in the loop, and everybody was waiting. You know that what to expect when you're expecting.
Exactly.
That's a famous book, right? You read it?
I actually did not. I took like a few chapters and like watched people talk about the book, but I actually did not read the book.
Okay, I think that was one of the first book I was looking forward to reading, as I planned to be a mom, because I was like, what to expect when you're expecting? Now these so be hype things that they do. I'd like to read it, gain my perspective and be able to share when people ask me about it. So one of the things that I saw in that book, what to expect when you're expecting, is that there's a particular time in that expectation that you have that you begin to wonder, have I dotted all the I's or have I crossed all the T's? Did that happen to you too?
Yes, that definitely happened, and I think it even happened more after I had my baby. Right. So I felt a bit ready. I've read all the books, I've prayed as a believer, everyone is in loop. My mother-in-law was here, but then I think 2 days after I had my baby, I was like, do I really know what to do? I had like a moment of panic. I was like, I don't think I know what to do. And then I was like, wait, how am I supposed to know when she's stating? How am I supposed to know when she's... And then I was just like, you know what, breathe, calm. And then I was like, yeah, let's pray about it.
Yes. And of course, there's that period where you are kind of anxious, where you kind of feel inadequate in yourself. I know that for me, at some point, I'm like, I know I'm prepared. Right? Mentally. I think I'm prepared. I think that's what we all say to each other. We're like, I think I'm prepared. I can do this and all that. And then out of the blues, you have an infant in your hands and you're wondering, what exactly do I even do with this baby now?
Exactly.
Did that happen?
Yes, that definitely happened. Yeah.
Did it mess up your schedule?
Postpartum would mess up your schedule. I think that's one thing you should be ready for.
Right?
Yeah, it will mess up your schedule because you'll quickly learn that you're not in control of everything, and you have to kind of always pivot and like just whatever is happening, let's look for the best solution, let's find a way to do it. So yes, that definitely happened. And like I said, even though I panicked, I was like, okay, we got this, God's got us, my husband is here, I have a good support system, and I was able to like get back.
Able to navigate the times, because I know that one of the first things you begin to learn is once you birth a baby, you think you have control of yourself.
Yes.
The truth is another human that controls you, you know, and then you discover that I have to be very flexible. So maybe I want to eat, and this little human wants to eat. I put that aside, and I get to feed her, because if you don't, it's either my way or the cry way. You experienced that, did you?
I'm still experiencing it currently, as my second child is just 4 months, so I'm still in that early phase. And yeah, you like put your food in the microwave, and your child is sleeping, and then she wakes up, and it's like, we're gonna get to that later.
You shove that, and you're like, okay, let me attend to this little human, then I'll come take care of myself later. Did you find that you were constantly playing kind of like second place in your own life?
In your own life, yes. And I think it's something that if you're mentally prepared for, it helps you a little, because you've kind of already accepted that there's somebody else that is a priority, and then I just have to, it's just a season. They're never with us forever, even though postpartum never ends. However, that season where you feel like your second place doesn't happen forever. So it's a thing of, okay, this is just a season of my life. I just have to do what I can with the season, and it will slowly but surely, get better.
It would eventually even out.
Yes.
So would you say that there was a difference between your first and your second?
A whole lot of difference between my first and second. I think the first difference was after I had my first baby, I kind of was living in a delusion that I was gonna snap back, body wise, and I would be like the same.
You're just back to
I would be the same.
What size were you before you had your baby?
I was extra small. I was like 0'2" maybe.
Right.
And
then now you are.
Now I think I'm 4, so it's pretty good.
Not too bad.
But after my first, I gained a lot of weight, so I learned how to do it better the second time around. Okay. So definitely after the first, I was a bit delusional. I was like, I was skinny before. I was like, it's gonna be easy. I'm just gonna come out. And then I had my baby. First month, second month, I was like, oh wow, my stomach is not going back. It's squishy. It's different. It's never gonna look the same. And then I had diastasis recti. I never knew what that was actually, and then I was like, I'm not supposed to be doing the regular workouts. So I was like, I'm supposed to be doing like a separate workout specifically for women who just gave birth, because my pelvic floor is like weak and needs a lot of strengthening. And so I learned, thankfully, the world is better. There is YouTube. There's a lot of things you can learn from. And so I learned that, what I was doing was actually messing up my body, and now I had to learn a whole new set of like exercise and a whole new way to eat and a whole new way to
manage yourself. Then you have to learn that. I know that back home they would say that if you just had a baby, you have to eat heavy and load yourself with all the pepper soup and all the they were doing that
the first time. That's exactly what I mean. The first baby, I felt like I had moi moi and pap every day. I had poundo every day. Like I was eating, because I was thinking I'm breastfeeding. I needed to like
need to eat.
But then I learned you need to eat more, but you don't necessarily need to eat more quantity. You need to eat more protein and like make it like heavily dense in protein. So now I would eat like meat and chicken, a lot of that, and avocados and eggs, instead of eating like a bowl of rice or a bowl of poundo.
And you know what they never tell us is it is the quality of the meal that you're having. And I know that what I learned when I was having my kids was that you need to eat heavy. You're feeding 2 humans. But as I began to grow and evolve, I realized that the truth is the milk needs to have quality. So it's not just loading yourself with one bowl of poundo and okra soup with very little protein. You want to have a lot of protein. You want to have a lot of veggies. You want to be able to pass on some very healthy diet to your child. So that's something that I know that we struggle with. Mostly from where we're from. Yes. I try to be quiet. That's something that we probably struggle with, and I'm glad that you quickly learned the ropes.
The second time around, I learned, because I learned that.
Okay, so how was it navigating all this? Okay, obviously you had help I would say.
Yes, I still do have help. Yes.
Okay. Have you had help consistently through your two kids?
So I would say yes and no. So my mother-in-law was here when I had my first baby before I gave birth. So she was here like when I had the baby and then for maybe 4 months after. But then she left and then it was just me and my husband. And then my parents came when I was going back to work, like after the 1 year maternity leave we have in Canada. So I also had help like the first 2 months of work just so I can balance work and like life at home and, and a kid in daycare, which is a whole new topic. And the second time around, my mother-in-law is also here, so I've had help on and off. Yes.
Aren't you lucky? The fact that you even had help before you had your
baby. I'm very blessed.
You are on another level. Let me just tell you. If somebody hasn't told you that, let me be the first.
Yeah, I don't take it for granted.
You shouldn't.
I do not take it for granted, because if I was going to pay for that,
yeah,
it would be a lot of money. So I definitely am grateful for that.
And the truth is, when you have that help, there's something it does to you. It takes away a whole ton of weight, because knowing that, I think one of the struggles that moms have is navigating the constant feeding at night. I think during the day is a bit manageable, you know, but when you have to wake up tons of time at night to breastfeed your baby, then you begin to understand that yes, this is what they call motherhood. This is what they call motherhood, you know. This is when the experiences they are better lived, experienced than being told that this is what you do. So tell me about all the cliches. Sleep when the baby is sleeping. When the baby is sleeping is when you should take your rest. How did you do that?
Oh my, yeah, those cliches, again, they in real life they don't work. It would be nice if they did, but it doesn't work that way. You sleep when the baby is sleeping, but that's the time you have to maybe have some time for yourself, to maybe take your Bible and read, to maybe have time with your husband, to maybe even be able to actually brush and actually have a bath.
I know.
And so like I quickly learned that, you know what, those cliches of take a bath when the baby, you know, or sleep when the baby's sleeping, or like make sure you tie your stomach. Sometimes you just want to breathe. You don't want all that. So I quickly learned that the idea of perfection that we have, or the cliches that, you know, you've heard, just kind of put them aside and just take each day and each event as it comes.
Yeah. And did you also see that people's experiences are different? So you quickly learn that your motherhood season is not the same as another person's motherhood season. Did you notice that?
Yes, and that's something I'm still noticing. I was actually blessed. So this second time around, I have a lot of friends also who gave birth at the same time. So my best friend has a 5-month-old, and so we will talk like, oh, this is how it's going. And you quickly realize that your experience is very different from hers, and hers is very different from mine. And I think one thing that helps you with is having compassion and kindness for people, because everyone is really going on a different journey as a mother, and even the babies, like they're going through a different path. And so you quickly learn that you can't compare. You can't say, oh, you know, this lady, you know, like I said, how delusional I was, snapped back in like a week or 2 weeks and my body should do the same. Like, no, because everybody's different, everyone's body is different, every child is different. And so you just learn to, okay, this is my journey, I have to face my journey and be grateful for whatever it is.
Yeah. And one of the things that you also get to learn in this motherhood season that I've learned is, you know, I was listening to a parenting podcast recently, and the lady is a trained psychologist, and she was sharing on how different kids are, and how different raising them also is.
Yes.
You know, the same, they don't come with a manual, like I've said. So even if you mentally prepare a manual and say, I'm going to raise child A like this and raise child B this way, you quickly discover that you see child A, the whinings are different from that of child B. So while child B can be easily suited with a bottle, did you notice that with your kids?
I definitely did. So, like I said, so my first daughter, for instance, she just did not want to take a bottle after 3 months. I tried everything, warm the bottle, warm the nipple, dance with the baby, make sure they like a she just never. And then even a formula, she never took formula, like, because one time I had a low supply when my period came back, and that was like a different season of postpartum, because now my supply was low and I had to feed her, but she wouldn't take the bottle. So it became like a whole another like journey, because I tried everything and I watched so many videos and she just never did. She never did till she grew up, and I mean that's
How old is
fine.
she now?
However, she's 2 now, so she's not taking the breast milk anymore. But that was like a season. But my second daughter, surprisingly, so far so good. She loves the bottle. She takes the bottle, and yeah.
And you discovered that navigating the times with your second daughter might be easier because now you can leave her with someone.
Yes.
And then go on your way.
And go
but with your first, she's kind of like stuck with you.
Yeah, because you have to feed her. Yeah, so if you're going out, there's no point pumping. You just have to take her. You have to immediately be like, is there a toilet? Is there a washroom? You're thinking of that when you're going out. Like, yeah, is there a washroom where I'm going to? Is there somewhere I can
going
cover?
Everywhere with your cover,
yeah,
and acting all drama. I remember when I came here and I of course I had my kids here, and the first thing my older ones had their kids in Nigeria, so. You used to have, it wasn't such a big deal when you're breastfeeding and, but here, it was a big deal. And when I came here, I was like, wow, is this how these people do every corner? You are just you are covering your head as if you're on another trip. But did you notice that?
I noticed that because I felt like when growing up in Nigeria, when I grew up in Nigeria, breastfeeding was everywhere. Like as a child, I felt like you just see someone with her child in the bus, even in a public bus. Just it's time for the child to eat. But then I came here and I was like, actually, when I was pregnant, that's when I started. Remember, I was like, I've never seen somebody breastfeeding in public.
No.
And then of course as a mom you notice that, but thankfully now they have like designated places at the malls, at the church, so that makes it better because there is a safe place where you can go to, your baby can go to, and you can breastfeed. But definitely the cultural differences there's so much different.
Yeah. And how did you navigate the milestones, the expectations? This is what my child, and I keep saying it, I know this is what I always talk about. Who even brought about these milestones in the first place? Who says that a child has to sit? And when I had my first, everybody had this milestone in their mind. She should be sitting at 6 months. Easy. No, anybody should not have. You are carrying her too much. She should be sitting by herself by now. What are you doing? Did they do that to you?
I experienced that, and one thing I quickly learned is that everyone is going to have an expectation of what they think your child or you should be doing, and the quicker you learn that whatever they have, that's for them, and it might not work for you, the better it is. And then you realize that those who even love you the most are the ones that maybe are culprit to that. So you see your mom calling you and saying something like calling you and saying, why are you carrying the child? You're carrying the child too much. They are going to be used to sleeping in your hand. Put them in the crib. And then she's like, I did all this for how I raised you guys. This is how I raised you. But you realize that's how she raised you. That's not necessarily how you and your husband want to raise like your child. And so you quickly learn that all those milestones, they're amazing, they love you, of course they're from your loved ones, but you quickly learn that just let them say it. I learned not to go back and forth with people and just let them say it, but not take it like personally. And at
the end of the day, every child will grow.
Yes,
every child will develop, as long as there's nothing fundamentally wrong with that child. You see all those boxes that we have in our heads that we expect them to tick at a certain time, they will tick it. And who made the rules anyway? Everybody just wakes up and expects that this is, at the end of the day, I tell myself, is it really biology?
Like you said, and like I tell my friends, have you seen an adult that can't walk? That, like you said, that doesn't have something fundamentally wrong. Have you seen an adult that can't walk or that can't eat by themselves? So
or that can't even talk.
Or that can't talk. So except there are some medical
underlying issues,
which is a different topic entirely, and we give grace to that. But if a child is healthy, they would eventually learn to do those things by themselves.
Exactly. So how did you navigate the season of daycare? In fact, I know that is a completely in fact, I was telling somebody that when you're pregnant, it's like now in this part of the world, I don't know how it is for you guys in Nigeria, but when you're pregnant, I think from day one you better go and put that child on a wait list too.
Yes, you're right.
Because if you think by chance that you will just give birth and you will find a slot, you are just in la la land. I know I told somebody that and they were like, really? I said, yes. Maybe you don't know, But yes, my dear.
Yes, you're totally right. So like we all obviously heard those and we thought people were just exaggerating. And so we put my child on a wait list when she was 7 months. Just a place I was like, oh, I want her daycare to be so close to the house so I can just pick her up and my husband can pick her up or my sisters, whoever. And we were on the wait list. I called them and they were like, yeah. It was time for me to go back to work. I called them and they're like, there's no spot. And I was like, I'm going to work next week. I need to find somewhere to put my child. And so we went everywhere, literally in Northwest, just looking for where we could.
Spot.
Yeah, looking for a spot for her. Thankfully, we found one. And then it was now a case of, do we want this daycare? Do we trust these people that are going to be in charge of like our kids? And of course, it was a different thing. The first day she went to daycare, I cried in the car. It was my first day going back to work. So it was very emotional for me. I was like, I'm leaving you to strangers. And also when I was at work, I was still breastfeeding. So that was also like another thing. My breasts were reminding me at work that this is the time, Sophia feeds, but she wasn't with me. So it was definitely emotional. It was tasking, but I quickly learned that day.
Were you expressing while you were at work? How did you handle that?
So I had kind of trained my body that okay, maybe now her feeds would be like lesser. So even though my body was telling me, it wasn't like to the point where I was engorged, so it wasn't painful. I was able to manage it. Until work was over, then I would breastfeed her when I get home and maybe pump if it was still like heavy. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what
Okay, so tell me about the season where you were trying to win her of breast milk. How was that? I know that's the toughest season for new moms. They're like, oh my god, I don't want to do this, but I have to.
So I wanted to do it and I was so excited, and then my body did not want to do it. So I think for me it was even reversed. I felt like I was so excited, like, oh, it's finally time to win her off. I was like, yes, I'll be able to be free and wear any clothes I want to wear. And then the time came, and the first day, like I said, I was at work. So I was like, okay, we're going to do this today. So I was at work. My husband came to pick me up. She was in the car. She was crying because normally I'll feed her in the car. Immediately they picked me up, and I was like, no, it's time to win you. She cried, and I just gave in. And I found out that I kept giving in day after day after day after day. And I was like, we have to stop this. She has to be weaned. And so it was now more an emotional and mental, assignment for me as opposed to her, because I started feeling a bit sad for some reason. I think it's all the whole emotions started with breastfeeding, and I did it because at night I was like, you know what, we're not going to have any feeds. I put a substance that was bitter on my nipples, and so when she was crying, I gave it to her, and she was like, no, I don't want it. And slowly, the cries were a lot. I think for the first 2 weeks of weaning, we did not get good sleep because she was just crying.
And that's typically what happens. I think one strategy that I learned for me is when I'm about to wean, I just give them to their dad. So you go deal with it. Then I sleep. I have a good night rest in another bedroom. Then my husband does all the dealing, and he'll be like, I haven't slept a bit. I'll be like, it's the same. When I was breastfeeding, I was sleeping a bit. So everybody gets to get their own share. Now is your turn.
That's a good one. Maybe I'll try it the second time.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you create that separation and they don't see you, it's easier on them, especially at night. I think during the day you can navigate it. You can give them hot chocolate, what else, and
yogurt,
yogurt, something to just calm them down. But at night is the worst.
I agree.
So the best thing is separate yourself from that situation. Move to another bedroom. Let their dad
handle it.
You two.
You can rest.
Let down your hair and just sleep. Have a good night's sleep. Anyway, that was how it was for me. What else was I going to ask you? So going back to work. I know that one of the things that happen after you've just had a baby is that you go back to work and you expect flexibilities because it is not the same you that was at work before you had a baby that is returning to work. You will have phone calls. Oh, something happened in daycare. There will be the season where, okay, she had a cold, she can't come to daycare and all that. How did you navigate those periods? Of course, you're still probably still in it. How has it been?
So mine was even a new job. Because we moved when I was pregnant with my first. So when I gave birth, I was like, okay, it's time to look for a new job. So I was able to get a new job before I got back. So for me, it was different because I felt like I had to prove that, you know, I was, what's the word, efficient. Because I was like, I don't want to be calling in sick. And they think, we just employed this lady and she's not even here at work half the time. So it was a whole like mental thing for me. Thankfully, my husband works from home and he's a good support. So we were like, okay, you know, days where she's not feeling good, he would have to like take it off or try to work more at nights. And my parents were also here for the first month. First 2 months, so they were also like able to help me, but it was a lot because I felt like I had something to prove to my workplace that though I'm a new mom, I can still like work and I, you know, work. Superwoman.
I can do it all. I can do this.
Because I didn't want them to fire me and be like, you know, we don't need you anymore.
And the truth is, they would rarely do that. I think that we place unnecessary expectations on ourselves. We expect that, I don't know, maybe it's the way we think we would behave. So we project our insecurities on someone else and we expect that this is how they would
react.
Yeah, if I would react like this is how I expect. I remember telling somebody that, how do you think a business person will pay your salary when you're not being productive? And you know, my husband said, that is why you're not a business person, because they make allowance for something. And I'm like, that's below the belt. Are you trying to what are you trying to do? And he said, no, but the truth is, they know that at the end of the day, when you're hiring people, when you have a staff, especially when you have female staff, you have to make that plus or minus allowance for them to, you know, there has to be that flexibility, and they would not fire you except you're really incompetent, terrible staff, you know. So they would give you that allowance, and I'm glad you have great support system. You know, I was going to ask you about your husband, but you've been. I hear it. So I will not push. I will not ask too much. Obviously, it's been a solid support, and we are grateful for men like that, especially in these seasons. You know, when you have women. You know, our lives kind of go through a lot of seasons. So there's that season where you're pregnant, your body experiences a lot of changes. Now when you look at yourself in the mirror, you are like,
it's totally different.
I have no idea what this looks like anymore. You know, your body, your tummy, some parts are flappy. You look at your breast, there is a difference, obviously, from the breastfeeding and all. You look at your thighs, there are stretch marks everywhere. Forget all those bowel oil that they say works nothing. You're trying to use everything to get back to normal. So the body changes. How was it for you? How was it for your husband? How did you guys
navigate that? So with my first, I had a tear during delivery, so of course my body was already changed like from the delivery. So the first 2 weeks I was in pain, you know, I was bleeding a lot and it was uncomfortable to sit and to do stuff, but it healed. Thankfully it heals really quickly. But then comes the stomach, and like I said, 1 month, 2 months, this thing is not going down. I thought it would just go down. And then people, you know, they tell you, if you're breastfeeding, you lose weight like this. The baby will, I was gaining.
Snap back.
I found that I was actually putting on more weight while breastfeeding, maybe because I was skinnier before and my body needed to store the fat. I don't know what the science was behind that. But my husband was actually more like, oh babe, you just had a baby. Like, you're so hard on yourself. You look so good. You even look like someone that hasn't had a child. So that of course gave me like confidence, because I'm like, okay. But still, I mean, even when your husband tells you that, there's still like the you that feels like, okay, I should be here, I should look this way. And then of course I had to realize I'm a mom, you know, I'm no longer a single girl. I've had 9 months of, you know, a baby growing inside me, and I pushed her out and she's here, and I would never be that girl, anymore. But I'm a different, entire, beautiful, like, human being.
Absolutely.
And like my husband says, if you go to battle, those, soldiers, they're always happy to show their battle scars, because that means you actually, you were active and you weren't a coward. So he's like, embrace them. Those are your, your battle scars, and you should be proud of them, because it shows that you've gone through a journey and like you've been changed in that. And so now I look at it and I see it as my, my award for going through 9 months.
And then you can flaunt it, and when people talk about it, you can say, I've been there.
I've done that.
I've done that. Those boxes, check. Tell me about navigating your faith. How have you been able to combine, being a mom now, praying? I keep telling people that for me, when I had my baby, praying was very hard, because I am so tired. I want to sleep, but sometimes I kind of feel guilty. I'm like, this is so bad. You're supposed to be praying. What are you doing? It's like you're being ungrateful. God brought you thus far. You should spend quality time in His presence. Did you feel like that?
I did. I definitely struggled, and I'm still struggling, but thankfully it's a journey. But yeah, I think because I'm a morning person, so before having a child, like I would try to get most stuff done in the morning. But now with breastfeeding at night, waking up even early on some days is like, wow, I woke up by 7 today. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing.
That's a miracle, man.
That's a miracle. Like, that's something that you're like, wow, that's a good thing and stuff. So, and your time during the day again, like your attention, time to eat, you have to like struggle for time to eat and time to take a shower and all that. But one thing I've just like learned with the second time is, even if it's 5 minutes, because before I was always waiting for like the perfect time, like a time where, okay, I've done this, I've done that, my baby's sleeping and it's only me. But now I realize, even if I'm carrying my baby and she's not fussy and I just have 5 minutes, just pick up a chapter and just read. I may not get time to pray as long, but now I'm like, okay, it's maybe not in the amount of time I spend, but just the intention that, today I'm going to pray. And even if it's a 5-minute prayer, I pray, even if it's just a verse, 2 verses here and there. So instead of waiting for like my quiet time, if you understand what I mean.
I do.
Exactly.
I do.
I just take every time that
and
comes.
there was this devotional that I finished. What was the title again? Something about mom. Oh shoot, I can't remember. But what the author talks about to moms is, you see, our lives are very busy. We are, it's what it is. It doesn't matter whether you have a solid support partner. The truth is, you do 80%, or you do the bulk of the work. That's the truth. And because you're trying to also build your faith in the process, it's important to acknowledge where you are, what season you are, and just give yourself some allowance. So like you said, when you have 5 minutes, pick up your Bible, read a verse. When you have 1 minute, say a prayer. Whatever times you have, just squeeze it in here and there. When you're doing laundry, when you're folding, one thing that I've learned that have saved me is having my audio Bible on. So even when I'm waking up and I'm trying to take a shower, it's on and I'm listening. Sometimes I'm thinking that I'm actually not listening. Then I will just hear, and Jesus said something, I'm now saying, that is it, and then it would just jump out at me, and I would realize that, oh, I was actually listening, even though I felt as if it was passive listening. You know what we always expect? We kind of always expect ourselves to be actively involved. When we're doing devotion, you want all your 5 senses to be there, but most times you can't have it, because your 5 senses is already shared. One is listening to a crying baby, the other one is listening to the fire that, those things. So navigating those times is important, and I'm glad that you figured out a way to just walk through this season. I'm glad that you found a way to still remain standing. That's It's very important for me, and I know it is for you.
It is, but I also found that the best thing, like for me, is waking up early. So now I try my best, because I find that when I wake up early, I get a lot done. So I'm able to read my Bible. I'm able to do my workouts, because I try to work out. I work out like
it's showing.
Yeah.
Come on.
So for me, if you're a morning person and if you can, it's very hard to stand up, from that bed. But as a mom, if you can get even like 2 hours before the kids and everyone wakes up, then you get to do like. You get to feel like, I have control, I'm able to do this, I'm able to eat, I'm able to, take a devotion, I'm able to pray at least before the whole day now starts.
So have you kind of built a routine?
I think this time around it is better, and I built kind of a routine. Some days it still gets thrown off, here and there, but I try to wake up really early. So like 5:36, I'm already up. I try to walk out first and then take a bath, and then if I'm able to eat, usually not, but at least I've done my devotion, I've exercised, I've had my bath, then the kids are awake, then I can
run through the
whole
so thing. What happens because now I think the dynamics are easier for you because you're not sane, so you're at home.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about that time when you had your first and you had to go back to work and you still have to pray and you have to read your Bible and you have to get a baby ready for daycare.
So I found that when I had a new job, honestly, the only thing that worked, I had a Bible at work, because I realized days would go and I wouldn't even be able to like open the Bible. So during lunch, because that's the free time I have, so during lunch I just go to the corner there while I'm eating, I'm just reading my Bible, and that was the only thing honestly that worked.
So you don't just with your colleagues?
Not every time.
How do we not call you social at work?
I like to have at least for lunch. I mean, sometimes with colleagues, but sometimes it just go to a corner. Sometimes it's good to have a quiet, enjoy my food, and sometimes even take a nap after. That's how I am. I take a nap at work during my lunch break.
Really?
Yes.
And
so I do something like that. Yes, I do take a nap.
That's incredible. I am impressed because my lunch. My lunch is a tough time, so most times in fact, do I even have lunch? Because I try to leave work early, and that's the beautiful thing about my job. I have a bit of flexibility. I work predominantly from home, but I go into the office like once a week, twice a week, thereabout. So when I'm at work, I want to get out before my kids are closing from school. So I really don't have lunch. I don't have the luxury of that 1 hour to go sit anywhere. So my 1 hour, I'm putting it into work so that when I carry my bag by 3, nobody's looking at me and say, oh, she's leaving early, or I'm leaving by 2. Nobody's saying anything. I'm leaving because I did not eat. So I'm going to go and eat. Basically, that's what I'm doing. Any last words for moms that are in this phase of their lives,
I think the advice I'm going to give is just take each day as it comes. Be very positive, because when you're positive about things, even when things don't go that way, you're able to still like get yourself back up and realize, it's just a situation. It doesn't throw the whole thing away. It's just a curve. It's just a curveball. And just stay in the moment. Take lots of pictures. One thing I do, take lots of pictures. Like you would feel like, I hate how I look, I hate this, I hate that. But take pictures, because you would want to relive those memories and realize, oh, I wish I took more pictures when I was pregnant or when I was, postpartum. So just embrace it, enjoy it. It's a season, like I said, it's forever, because your kids are going to be there. But the waking up at night, changing diapers, that doesn't last forever. So it's just for a very short period of our lives.
And they grow up faster.
They grow up quickly.
You know it. They grow up faster than you know it. Tobi, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. This is going to be our last episode on the Motherhood series, and I'm glad that I got to share it with Tobi.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting conversation so far. So thank you. Thank you for speaking kind words to our viewers as well. Thank you for letting them know that this journey is something that you'll be on for a while. Growth, I usually say, is not linear. There are coughs, there are twists, there are turns. So cut yourself some slack. You're doing the best that you can. Whatever it is that you're currently doing is what you can do, and it is your absolute best for the moment. So don't beat yourself up. Just breathe when you can. Let down your hair when you can, and take lots of pictures. Like Tobi said, you want to look back and say, oh wow, there was a time I was this chubby, and now I'm back to my size 4, or probably my size 0, and I'm going back to my -0 size, which will never happen, by the way. Doesn't matter what you do, it will not happen. You're not going to go
for
back.
some, but for
those that go back there, we're not doing BBL on this table. We're not doing any of those things. So thank you so much. This is where we draw the curtain. If you haven't subscribed, please do well to subscribe. If you haven't followed us yet, this is when you do so. Till we see you again. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. See ya. Bye.